And today we're going to be talking about Nidus versus Gara. So, what got me thinking about this was one, all the work I put into Nidus to give him the Umbral build that I did, which, if you see one of my previous videos, was overrated. And in light of the dev stream today, we've confirmed that Nidus's new skin is very close to being done, and everyone is going to be running around with a Nidus. So, I got thinking about what he actually does. And I've come to the conclusion that everything he does, Gara does better. So if you want to skip the video, that's the punchline, but I'm going to go into detail with it. So with Nidus and his four abilities, basically, so they both have pretty much kind of the same first ability. It does damage of some kind, but with Nidus, it only does 550 damage, but he gets a multiplier for every time he gets a stack. So if you even have two, he's now doing 1,000 damage, which means if you got 10, you're doing 5,000, and at 100, you're doing 50,000. But it takes a while to ramp up to that level, and if you have a link on, yeah, you're doing double that damage if you're hitting the same enemy, but it takes a while to get up to that point, whereas Gara, using an ability that works like an exalted weapon without being exalted, can hit for about 30,000 without having to ramp up. Second on the list is Larva. It's just an ability to bring people together. And Gara has the same ability with her Hall of Mirrors that traps enemies inside and distracts them, making them shoot at the mirrors, and when the mirrors break, it does damage to them. So, where Larva reaches out to grab enemies and bring them in, the Hall of Mirrors stops them if they run near it, and it has a longer duration, so they have similar functionality. Next is Parasitic Link, which again on Nidus you can't use right away. At the beginning of the mission you can't use it, you have to build up at least one stack. And if you do use it on an enemy, you're locked to that enemy, you're tethered down, but it does give you a 90% damage reduction. Excuse me. What was I saying? 90% damage reduction if you attach to an enemy, but then you are stuck to that point. However, it does double the amount of damage that your Virulence does do, and gives you an energy refund. However, if you equip to an ally, it does give you that buff, which, thinking about it, with Gara, you can break glass onto a teammate and also give them 90% damage reduction. And if you use it on an enemy, it gives a damage multiplier for all incoming damage. So in a way, that and Parasitic Link have the same functionality, where Parasitic Link increases the damage output of a teammate, Gara increases the damage income of an enemy. So they work in the same way, but in inverse proportions? Inverse techniques. And then with Ravenous, it's an ability that stuns enemies, but Gara does that with her Hall of Mirrors anyway, and Ravenous does do, yes, damage to them while stunning them, and gives healing, but with Gara, she can set up a wall that is permanent, well, until its health bar is depleted anyway, that freezes enemies in place, and gives a damage multiplier to those enemies, and protect your teammates by rejuvenating the glass on them. So, let's jump over to Gara real quick. So the thing about this is that I don't even have a great build on Shatterlash right now, but it only does 1,000, but it acts like an exalted weapon without being an exalted weapon, where it then references your melee mods. So even just without a melee weapon, it already does what Nidus would do with 2 stacks on. Sorry. In short, Gara is quite a bit better. I'm actually going to do a test real quick to see just how much damage it does. But everything that he does, Gara does better. Gara is more mobile, While Nidus has to tether to an enemy to get that 90% damage reduction, Gara can just have it by the beginning of the mission. She can cast it infinitely. She is also based off of basically just duration if you have 130 power strength. Actually, I'll show this build real quick too. And this is the other biggest win for Gara. I only have one Forma on her, and I've basically got a really well-rounded build. I don't need any corrupted mods. I don't even have arcanes on her, and I haven't had to change her aura slot. Most importantly, I haven't had to put any fucking umbral mods on her to make her that level. Meanwhile, with Nidus, to get him to that level, which is an additional 36% more damage, is when he can finally start making those numbers. And that's a bad thing, because Gara now has a lot more maneuverability. She's got 150 efficiency with the way I've got her built, which isn't even that great of a build. It's just kind of a convenience build. I have rejuvenation on her. No one needs rejuvenation. Well, I mean, it does work on her because she does have a 90% damage reduction. But she can also fit flow and constitution. I didn't even know I had that on this build. But she can fit a lot. She can fit a lot better mods on her and have a lot more maneuverability and freedom with the build. All you have to do is make sure that your second ability, whatever it's called, the Splinter Storm, is active. So let's take a look at this real quick. I'm going to spawn in some enemies. There you go. I will give it to you though. Nidus is actually one of my favorite frames, hands down. And let's make it 5 of these actually. Yeah, 130s. Nah, let's ramp it up to 150. Fuck it. Nidus is one of my favorite characters. He's fun to use. He looks great. He does do a lot of damage. In fact, with the current build I was just running around some basic missions and ended up getting top scores across the board with almost every team I ran with. I'm not saying that he's a bad frame, but Gara is quite a bit better. Oh, I didn't mean to do that, but whatever. So I might kill these Grenier. Their armor is just getting in the way of my testing. How do I kill these? Clear? Kill enemies. Oh, why does it at all? I haven't been in here in a long time. I don't remember exactly how all this works. When charger clear. Yes? $9,000 damage. Okay, so it doesn't do quite as much as it used. Oh, actually, let me switch around the weapon. Maybe that's the problem. Yeah, the episode is gonna kind of teeter out at this point. I've made my point, and I've really, really thought about this. There we go. And Nidus is fun, but he is not as good as Gara, hands down, which could mean that Nidus is actually due for a revisit, a revamp, or a rework of some kind. 16,000? Or 106? No. That's 16,000. Wait, was that right? I am not doing this very well, I will admit. Let's just hold him down. Like that. It's so convenient, it's ridiculous. $26,000. 26,000. Yeah, but that is on frozen enemies. They did have a damage multiplier on them, but now maybe they'll stay in place because of that. That's the other amazing thing about her. She decimates almost all missions. She can run captures by trapping the target inside the ring. She can... Alright, just trying to... Yeah, 16,000? 3 zeros. 16, yeah. 16,000 with this build. And Nidus, to get up to that, shut up. 16 divided by 5, he'd have to be at 30 stacks. But that's a lot of stacks to just build up just to get to that point, while Gara can do that to an entire map by just breaking this. She can set up a perimeter that enemies cannot get through, that you can shoot through, and you can break it in all directions, doing that damage to everything in sight. So you can do 16,000 to basically an entire map. She decimates defensive, especially... yeah, I got it, dude. This will be the end of my episode, but in short, Gara is far better than Nidus, and that's a shame, because Nidus is so much fun. He's such a cool frame to use, and he's getting such a great skin. But everything that he does, Gara does better. So, in short, anyone who is running, I guess not running, but when Nidus gets his new skin and you want to show up all the other people that are running around in their nice Nidus skin, just grab Gara. The only thing that she really doesn't have going for her is her looks. She's not a great looking frame. She's kind of bland. There's nothing really special about her once you take off the glass. And even then, she's got this weird, like, skirt thing that doesn't scream glass to me. But I digress. Nidus versus Gara. Gara is definitely a lot better. And just a tail end of this video, I'll do another video down the line of non-exalted weapon builds, but this is my current build on what I call my X exalted build. It only took 3 forma, and it's on a weapon that gives me extra credits, so I figured it was a win-win. When you build these, you only want to go for elements. You don't want, well, I kind of broke that rule with Rendering Strike, but whatever. That was just for Gara because she does slash and puncture. But one of the biggest things people forget about that is Spoiled Strike, and I'll go into that in another video another time. But thank you for watching. This was NotVeryZenGaming, Gara versus Nidus. Gara wins hands down. Actually, Gara is one of the best frames in the game, in my opinion. She just decimates everything, gives great crowd support, crowd suppression and team support. So, thank you for watching. This was NotVeryZenGaming. Until next time, have a good one.